once again, a very big welcome to all of our attendees this morning. We are taking a look at hygiene and the importance of hygiene this morning. But just to recap on a little bit of information from last week's Toolbox talk on ceilings and why it is dangerous, the different types of hazards that we are going to face there. One question that came up is that of spiders. And we do appreciate that sometimes these spiders that we find in the ceiling can, first of all, give us a bit of a fright when we do see them. But are they dangerous? What can be done about them? Well, we've had some good recommendations coming through for those out in the industry. And we also did a little bit of research into it ourselves. So just to set your mind at ease, in the history of South Africa, we have never ever had one person die because of a spider bite. So just to put your mind at ease, the spiders that you are going to find, yes, some are medically important. In other words, what we want to do is take a recognition of the type of spider that bit us and get medical treatment. This does not necessarily mean that you are going to die from that spider bite, but you might just develop quite a nasty or pretty dangerous little bit of injury to your fingers or toes, depending on where that bite is. So in your handout section, if you please just go to the drop down section on the right hand side, you will notice there are two handouts. We've got spiders on an A3 poster for Southern Africa, and then also medically important snakes of South Africa. We thought we'd put that in there as well. We have had a few plumbers out there in the industry saying not only have they found spiders, but they've also seen different types of snakes. So how do you protect yourself against that? Our suggestion, do a toolbox talk on these two different posters, explain it to your workforce, get them to know and be able to identify the different types of snakes. In particular, snakes are extremely dangerous in South Africa, and some of them are even deadly. So please be careful, especially when coming across these types of snakes in this poster. If you would like some more information on this, I can direct you to the website where I found it. They also have a free app, and this free app allows you to go on and take a look at some more information about spiders, snakes, or any other reptiles in and around South Africa and get some feedback from them. So we hope this helps you to a degree, and we look forward to the feedback that we've had so far throughout the week and emailing it through to you for those questions that came through, especially about spiders in the ceilings and what type of PPE you can be using to protect yourself and your workforce. So again, thank you very much for your feedback. We really do appreciate that. Please don't forget to take our annual plumbing industry survey. You will earn 1 CPD credit when submitting this. Just follow the www.iopsa.org section. Go through to the actual plumbing industry survey, and please ensure that you also notify other plumbers out in the industry of this for them to do this survey. And we really appreciate the feedback that we get from you in this. Well, off to our toolbox talk this morning. What is it? It's hygiene. We are speaking about something that many of us, especially now because of COVID, are taking extremely seriously. But just a few interesting facts. Why is hygiene so important? Well, annually, more than 160 million people are diagnosed with an occupational illness. And this relates to some sort of hygiene procedure or policy not being followed correctly, and the risks and hazards not being mitigated appropriately. And these are now causing a risk to those employees. Of those 160 million people, 2.3 million cases worldwide are fatal. So you might say to yourself, well, that's a total number worldwide. Is that very high? Well, let me just point you to the left side of the screen. Another interesting fact, post or pre-COVID, 1 in 5 people do not wash their hands. Of those who do wash their hands, only 30% use soap. So that's a staggering amount of people that are not following just normal personal hygiene, especially when it's going to toilets or before eating. In fact, when we did a little bit of research on this type of statistic, it was taken in food service industries, schools, colleges, and places where people frequent. So hotels, shopping centers. So that's quite a staggering statistic that 1 in 5 people do not wash their hands. Now, you might say to yourself, well, I'm the type of person now that during COVID would kind of think that everybody would be doing that. Well, some of the statistics that we are finding out now is that most people are supplementing hand washing with sanitizer. So they are just using sanitizer instead of doing the actual soap and water cleaning method. Now, which one is more practical and which one is more effective? Well, as we've learned, making sure you wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and water is the most effective way of hygiene on your hands. The chemical-based sanitizers, although very good in helping us to prevent viruses and bacteria, are only a secondary precaution. So please remember, if you have access to soap and water, ensure you are following your personal hygiene as well as your COVID-19 directives of washing or hand washing as often as you can. Now, there are different types of hygiene, chemicals, physical such as noise or radiation, biological when it comes to bacterial viruses, as we speak about quite a bit nowadays with COVID, and then ergonomic related risks as well. This is repetitive strain injuries, etc. This all falls part of hygiene. Now, you might think, well, hygiene is washing our hands, brushing our teeth, and cleaning up after ourselves, basic housekeeping. Well, yes, it does include that, but occupational hygiene includes anything to do with hazardous chemical substances, the effects that physical hazards have on our bodies, such as noise or even excessive heat, which could cause occupational illnesses, then biological, where bacteria and viruses could make us sick, which affects our hygiene, and then ergonomic related hazards. If we are stretching or prolonged or repetitively straining our body, our muscles or our bones, later on in life, we are starting to find that we are getting illnesses or diseases from the occupation that we did earlier in life. So hygiene covers a very wide variety of risks or hazards that we are going to find in our workspace. But now we do not have time to discuss them all. So there's a few things that we want to discuss with you this morning, particularly on mitigating, just protecting ourselves from these types of dangers. So we want to mention 5 things that you can do to, first of all, anticipate what type of risk you might face during your task or your scope of work that you're going to be performing. Recognize what the actual, or identify rather, what the actual hazard is, and then you are going to evaluate that risk. And once you've evaluated the risk, you can then institute a prevention method from allowing it not to occur again if it has occurred in the past, or control it using 2 methods. We have the proactive approach and the reactive approach of controlling. Now, by following these 5 steps, what we want to achieve is taking the statistics of 160 million people that get sick every single year because of some sort of occupational illness or injury, and 2.3 million people dying every year because of this, and bring that lower, mitigating those risks so that in our own offices, we've eliminated that specific hazard. And if each one of us do that, with the over 2,000 people that constantly come back to us, and especially in the plumbing industry, if all of you could do that, that's 2,000 people that we are essentially achieving the process of getting you down in your risk management, getting those incidents and accidents statistics always to a lower point. Now, if each one does their part, we will see an overall growth of not only people becoming more hygiene savvy, but a lot of people will then start taking seriously the personal hygiene at home. Now, generally, we say it should start at home, that's where we want to be safe, so that the behavior is already learned. And when we get to work, we then continue safely. But as we've seen from the statistics, that's not always the case. So let's start learning at work and then hopefully filter this back to our homes as well. Then we can have an overall hygienic and clean way of living that will prevent future risks to not only ourselves, but potentially our family members as well. So how do we go about taking these 5 steps and putting them into practice? Well, the first thing we need to do is understand what each of these mean. To anticipate an occupational injury or disease, we need to anticipate an event. What could happen? What is the possibility of something happening? Now, yes, you're using your imagination, but it is also based on knowledge of the procedure or task being performed. And then you realize in advance that certain things may happen. In other words, speaking about last week's Toolbox talk, when working inside a ceiling, we've noticed that there is a high possibility that we will come in contact with spiders. Our understanding and knowledge now that we've done the research is that the risk, as we've recognized it and evaluated, is fairly low. But if we had to supplement the hazard of the spider with a potentially dangerous snake working out in White River or Nelspruit area where you have mambas, well, there the risk rating might then increase to a medium or a high risk, depending on where you're actually working. So this is to identify not just the task that we're performing, but the environment that that task is being performed in. Then also, we need to identify how we ourselves, as the human element in the actual task, are going to be performing that task as well. And don't always put it down to PPE. We don't want the last resort to protect us from a potentially serious danger, such as a very, very dangerous snake. PPE will only go so far in protecting you. Having knowledge and understanding, sight awareness, and perhaps even preventing the snake from being there in the first place will help us to prevent the overall snake bite statistic. So it allows us to be prepared for something that we have anticipated. Now, again, not only are we going to anticipate a certain event, we need to recognize or identify the potential hazards that already exist. Now, this is identifying something from us having done it before or encountering it before. In other words, it's knowing it again. Every time you go into a ceiling, you know that there are certain risks and hazards that you will face all the time. One of those is working at heights, whether you're on a ladder, on a scaffold, mobile elevated working platform, or whatever it is that you are using to access that area, you realize that that is an identified hazard. Access is a key component of working inside a ceiling. So not only do we anticipate potential hazards, we also recognize or identify the current hazards that we are facing. Once we have these 2 elements, we then evaluate each of them. Now, this allows us to determine the significance of the risks from low, medium, high, or catastrophic according to the risk as well as the task we are performing. And then you will decide whether this is acceptable risk. In other words, it's low enough in order for you to take the risk of working in that ceiling with your protective measures in place, or you will need to take action to prevent or minimize it. Based on that safe working procedure or safe operating procedure, you then implement the next 3 items. You then put in risk prevention. Now, this is the process of avoiding risk or reducing the possibility of the impact. In other words, you want to try and eliminate it completely if that is at all possible, or you're going to substitute it, put in some sort of engineering control so that it doesn't attach itself to you as the human element. We rather put some sort of barrier or guard in place so that should something go wrong, a piece of tool or machine or barrier gets injured, not a human person. And then coming down to the PPE, where PPE will then only give you a percentage of protection against that specific hazard. Now, this is basically controlling. Controlling a risk can be done in two ways. We have a proactive approach, which is always the approach we want to take. These are actions taken by a company or a person to reduce or eliminate threats before they happen. So we anticipate, we recognize, we evaluate, we put in those prevention methods, and now we try and work according to these, always performing risk assessments. And this doesn't necessarily mean taking a document and filling in a document. It means being aware of our surroundings and taking the necessary actions to prevent a possibility of somebody being injured. A toolbox talk is one of those types of proactive measures where we learn in advance of a potential hazard. But what do we do with that knowledge? Well, we need to apply that knowledge to our specific task. And that means sitting down and identifying what needs to be put in place in order to protect ourselves from the identified hazard. We then have a reactive controlling process. Now, this is a response-based approach. So after an incident has occurred, after we've received an audit, and based on those results or based on the outcomes of an incident or an accident or an audit, we then react with an appropriate measure. So let's take an incident, for instance, working inside a ceiling, and we have a small electric shock due to wiring that wasn't installed correctly by a previous contractor. So this is not your responsibility. The homeowner didn't know about it, but a previous contractor maybe didn't install something correctly. There was an exposed wire and you were contacted on that wire. Now, first of all, you might ask yourself, why did that hazard exist? Initially, most of us will say it was somebody else's fault. The electrician should have. And that's very easy for us to do. It's very simple for us to point a finger and say, somebody else was responsible for that. And yes, you are right to a degree. But notice if we took these 5 steps, if we anticipated that there is a possibility that working inside a ceiling meant we were working near electric cabling, not necessarily poor installations, but the possibility that it exists inside a ceiling. We then have anticipated an event. That event meant now that we need to recognize or identify the hazard. Remember, we've mentioned this many times. Where is a risk assessment performed all the time? It is on site, at the task, while you are working. It's not done behind a desk. So yes, a task-based assessment can be done of an overall or general or baseline idea of what you are performing. But once you get to site, the additional risks and hazards then need to be identified and the risk assessment needs to be completed in full. So we have our basic task that we're performing plus a site-specific risk assessment. Now this can be done on a form of a DSTI, a PTO, whatever type of risk assessment you're performing. We suggest using one that will allow you to not only identify the current risks, but also potential risks of the actual site that you're working on. If you'd like documentation on this, please reach out to us. We've also got it on that Dropbox link for you as well. Now, this type of reactive approach means something's already gone wrong and we are reacting to it. We are putting in first aid measures or getting you to the doctor, getting you to the hospital, and then we try and prevent it again. So which would you rather have? A proactive approach, steps taken to reduce or eliminate a threat before somebody was injured? Or would you like a reactive approach where you only really put in an action plan after someone has been hurt? I'm sure you will agree, everyone wants a proactive approach to risk. And when it comes to hygiene, that is no different. We must have proactive measures in place, but we need the reactive measures because incidents and accidents are going to occur, especially because of that human element that is always in it. So what are the benefits then of having a healthy workforce, ensuring that you identify your risks when it comes to hygiene-based practices, not just washing your hands, but when it comes to the chemical substances you are using, when it comes to the noise or heat that you are exposed to on a daily basis, when it comes to that repetitive strain, or even the biological aspects, the viruses or bacteria that we are faced with on a daily basis in drains, in waste disposal units, or even on the general piping or sites that you are working on as a plumber. Well, some benefits are it will ensure your employees' well-being. And an employee who feels healthy, who feels safe, their well-being will then not only increase life expectancy, because now they're not going to get sick in future, but as a company, it assists you in reducing the number of people who have to leave employment early. They're not going to take early retirement or take early retirement because of some sort of illness that they have. It lowers social and healthcare costs, and it also maximizes worker potential and growth for the business. Now, this is all based on analytics that have been done not through just on science, on occupational health and awareness, but also basic business ethics. A healthy workforce will probably produce a lot better. And you can think for yourself, if you had to work and you were sick, well, you don't perform as well as if you are working and you are feeling healthy. So keep yourself hygienically clean. It's not just important because of COVID, it's important because of an overall holistic approach to health and safety in our industry. So don't forget those 5 points. Make sure you try and identify your hazards when working on site. Reach out to those who know what type of working environment you are working in, and then speak to one another. Consult not just with healthcare professionals, occupational health and safety practitioners, such as myself, but reach out to other plumbers as well in the industry. Share your knowledge and information, and then assist others who might not have access to that information as well. And you'll find it goes a long way in a proactive approach to risk-based thinking. And keep yourself healthy, keep yourself safe out there. Now, next week, we are taking a look at those of you who are OHS representatives. What is an OHS representative? What are your responsibilities? What should you be doing in terms of the law? So we are speaking not because of your industry that you're in, but we are speaking specifically in terms of the legislation and how that affects you as an OHS representative. And then how does it affect anybody that is not an OHS representative, such as an employer or a general employee? So tune in next week. We look forward to speaking to you on this topic. And then please reach out to us on any other topics or feedback that you would like to give us. And then just as a reminder, please don't forget to take the annual plumbing industry survey on www.iopsa.org.